Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Mean Girls is more of a classic movie today than The Breakfast Club was when Mean Girls was originally released. Rebecca Black has doubled in age since Friday was released in 2011. This is what AI video looked like just 1 year ago. And this is what AI video looks like now.
There's a trend going around right now where women are asking their male partners if they would rather the woman be stuck in the woods with a random man or a bear. Would you rather me be stuck in the woods with a bear or a random man?
Man.
Most men are questioning why women are answering bear.
Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean?
Right.
That I was at the wedding and I caught the bouquet. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. First thing to catch from her that didn't need a shot of penicillin.
I'm back, and today we're gonna be taking a look at these creepy TikTok videos. If you guys like this video, subscribe. If you also like the change, check the link down in the description. Make sure to stay till the end of this video. It gets crazy.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your day. In 1906, a man in Morocco was sentenced to be walled alive after he was found guilty of unaliving 36 people. For 2 full days, people could hear him crying from inside the wall. There have been reports of these vacuum toilets and airplanes sucking out people's insides. When 14-year-old George Fittie was executed by electric chair, he was too short to fit into the chair, so he had to sit on a copy of the Bible. Later, he was found innocent. The average person spends 5 months of their lives waiting for red lights to turn green. If you have red eyes after swimming, it's not from chlorine. It's from the chlorine mixing with other people's urine. And be careful the next time you're on an escalator, because there's been many cases of escalators eating people alive. Follow for more.
Disturbing facts that may ruin your day. You are the oldest that you have ever been and the youngest that you will ever be. Your bed absorbs 26 gallons of your sweat every year. There are 15 dead people for every 1 person alive. Science can't measure exactly how strong a gorilla is, so there's no sure way on how to contain them. The gorilla enclosures at zoos are just based on trust. Every 18 minutes, someone in the United States has a brain aneurysm that ruptures. Vampire moths are real and can feed on the blood of humans. A jar of peanut butter contains 10 or more rodent hairs and can contain up to hundreds of insect fragments. Big Bird almost joined NASA's Challenger mission to help kids become more interested in space. Millions of kids would have watched Big Bird and the Challenger space shuttle explode on live television.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the most disturbing, but this is definitely top 5. This is Malgas Island, and up to 60,000 of these birds called Cape Gannets will nest here. But don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. So normally these parents take turns, with one going out for food with the other staying behind to guard the chick. But because of overfishing, oftentimes both parents will go out for food, leaving the chick all alone on the island. Which wouldn't be a problem if they didn't know that. Because groups of these white pelicans will fly over to the islands and then walk around looking for any unsupervised gannet chicks, so that they can grab the baby birds and eat them alive while they're still struggling. And sometimes they'll just push the parents out the way and then swallow the newborn children right in front of them. It somehow gets worse. Those same pelicans will fly back to their nest and vomit the half-digested, recently murdered baby birds for the pelican chicks to eat. And because Cape Gannets have no real way to defend themselves, pelicans have no reason to stop. And since pelicans obviously don't have teeth, those chicks' last moments were spent suffocating while being digested alive by stomach acid, only to get regurgitated and eaten twice. Dinosaurs never went extinct. They just rebranded with feathers.
It's funny he said that at the end right there, because I was about to say, a lot of people believe that dinosaurs did not have scales. They actually had a lot of feathers on them. What do you think about that?
Recently, Stephen Stearns was officially charged with the murder of Madeline Soto, his girlfriend's daughter. Now he has been indicted on first-degree murder charges. The indictment alleges that Stearns between February 26th and 27th, 3 to 4 days before her body was found on March 1st. He was the last person with her, and he claimed that she got out of the car to walk to school. But when she never showed up for school and her body was later found, he was being investigated as the primary suspect. And now he has been charged and indicted on first-degree murder. He has also been charged with over 60 child SA charges. Stearns was supposed to be arraigned yesterday when he would enter his plea, but that arraignment was canceled and it's unclear why or when it will be rescheduled. So he has not yet entered a plea. But as of now, Stearns is scheduled to go to trial on July 16th with a pretrial hearing on July 10th. It's unclear what Stearns will end up pleading, and if he does plead guilty, that will all change. But if he pleads not guilty, he will go to a jury trial. But hopefully, Madeline will get the justice that she deserves.
photos with disturbing backstories. Praying for a teammate that was murdered. The killer was present. Simon Doonan preparing for rescue. Suffocated after rescuing 13 people.
What really happened to Maddie Bosch, a police officer who was abducted from her home while investigating a serial rapist? Was she getting too close to his identity, or is something larger at play, like her being a key witness in a wrongful death case against the LAPD? In cases of abduction, time is against the victim, and no one knows that better than her father, Harry Bosch, a private investigator and former LAPD detective. He's a man who won't let anything stop him from finding his daughter, even the law. He's also the main character of Bosch Legacy on Amazon Freevee. Get ready for a wild ride because Season 2 just got released. Stream on Freevee or wherever Prime Video is available.
This is the scariest song in the world, and here's why. Okay, so we all heard this song before, especially if you're into scary things and watch the Insidious movies. But do you know the very disturbing and chilling backstory behind this song? Well, the song is called Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and it was recorded and released in 1968 by American singer Tiny Tim. And when the song was first released, it didn't have the scary reputation it has now. However, this would change during his last ever live performance of the song. On September 28, 1996, Tiny Tim suffered a heart attack that was pretty miniature while performing at a music festival. And after this happened, his doctors advised him that he wasn't healthy enough to perform on stage anymore. However, Tiny Tim ignored the advice from his doctors and scheduled another concert at a women's club in Minnesota the next month. But right before his performance, he told his wife that he wasn't feeling that good. Nevertheless, Tiny Tim decided to go on stage anyway. And after performing the last song of the night, he suffered a major heart attack on stage and died in front of the crowd. And the song he was performing was Tiptoe Through the Tulips. This song was already terrifying, but it's 100 times more terrifying after knowing this. Now listen to it again after knowing this.
Bro, if a doctor is telling you, yo, do not go on stage and perform again, why would you go on stage and perform again? He also didn't even feel good. He was like, you know, I don't feel good. My doctor did tell me not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Disturbing brain facts you didn't know about. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house. Brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. Stuck in the middle of a cold place. You will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Had your leg torn off by a bear. Here's adrenaline. So you can save your brain even if there's a huge risk of infection or further injury. You and your brain work together most of the time, but when push comes to shove, you are sacrificed.
It's hilarious that he was saying that you and your brain, like, we're not the same people. At the same time, it's kind of like true because realistically, you and your brain are like two separate entities, at least you and your subconscious. So conscious versus subconscious. So that's what I'm pretty sure he means by you and your brain. Your conscious versus your subconscious.
Scary facts you wish you never knew. On September 26th of 2021, a huge asteroid actually almost hit Earth, and NASA didn't detect it until a day later. So yeah, we were almost done for. Believe it or not, but humans do have a natural predator, and it kills around 2 to 3 million people a year. And we still have no clue how to stop it yet. This creature is the mosquito. Did you know TikTok has a secret emoji? Type shout with the bars around it on your keyboard and see what you unlock. Dr. Carl Tanzler was in love with one of his patients. Her name was Elena, but sadly she passed away. Carl then snuck into her tomb, stole her body, brought her back to his house, and kept her in there for 7 years. For that whole time, her body was slowly rotting away. He would prop her up on the bed like a mannequin. And the only reason he was caught was because somebody saw him dancing with her in front of his open window. You can check if your phone is being monitored right now. Just click on share, slide to the very end, click more, and if any unknown apps appear before your contacts, you should delete them immediately. 3 a.m. is known as the devil's hour. It is said that during that hour, the veil between our world and the paranormal world is thin. No wonder you always wake up at 3 a.m. Studies show that people who like and follow me get smarter every day, so you know what to do.
People Who Escape Serial Killers Part 2. Carol Durant narrowly escaped the clutches of Ted Bundy, who confessed to killing 30 women and girls. In 1974, as Carol walked to her car, Ted Bundy approached her dressed as a police officer and showed her a fake badge. He told her that someone attempted to break into her car, and that she needed to go down to the police station with him and file a police report. She ended up getting into his Volkswagen Bug and they drove to an elementary school and she was really confused. That's when Bundy quickly managed to handcuff one of her wrists, and he tried to knock her unconscious with a crowbar. Luckily, Carol managed to fight him off and flee. Carol's account to police led to an officer pulling him over and searching his car. The officer found a ski mask, cuffs, and other incriminating items. Bundy was arrested and escaped authorities several times. He was arrested for a final time on February 12, 1978, and he told the officer, "I wish you had killed me." Bundy was executed by the electric chair on January 24, 1989. Hundreds of people celebrated in a field nearby the prison with fireworks and dancing.
You know, I know Ted Bundy's a very common face in my videos, but as I keep watching things about him, he seemed like a normal dude that just had like a lot of weird fetishes and problems. Scary. You gotta be careful who you're around, man.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Mean Girls is more of a classic movie today than The Breakfast Club was when Mean Girls was originally released. Rebecca Black has doubled in age since Friday was released in 2011. This is what AI video looked like just 1 year ago. And this is what AI video looks like now. Clint Eastwood's parents would not have been able to celebrate the birth of their son with a can of beer. That's because Clint Eastwood was born in 1930 and canned beer wasn't even a thing until 1935. This is Nancy Pelosi attending JFK's inauguration in 1961 as a 20-year-old. We know of bowhead whales that have lived for more than 200 years, so any bowheads that managed to live through the golden age of American whaling in the 19th century could still be swimming in the ocean today. When novels became popular in the 1700s, the media thought that young people were reading too much. They were calling it the reading rage, the reading fever, and the reading mania. The oldest currently working train engine in the world was built when slavery was still legal in the United States.
That's crazy because nowadays people actually recommend reading a lot. They're like, yo, read a book, read, don't go online. But now everyone's like, oh, kids are on social media too much, they're on their phones too much. I bet something in the future is going to be like, oh, wow, kids are on their telegrams too much or something. I don't know. And the phones are going to become like the new books. Like no one's really going to be on a phone anymore. They're going to be on their like teleprompter, like, you know what I'm saying?
I was forced to stay awake for 30 days straight. They call it the Russian sleep experiment. They put 5 of us into a room and released a gas. That made it impossible to go to sleep. We were all captured war prisoners. They were studying us to see what would happen to a human if they stay awake for 30 days. Day 1 everything seemed fine. We were promised freedom after we completed the experiment. But as the days went by, our conversations grew darker. Paranoia took hold, tearing us apart. On day 9, one of us started screaming uncontrollably until his vocal cords gave out. The rest of us smeared our own feces over the glass so they couldn't see us. On the 15th day, they needed to know what was happening. They turned off the gas and opened the doors. They were not ready for the horrific scene they were about to walk into, flesh torn. We consumed our own bodies, desperate to stay awake. We didn't want to leave anymore. We begged them to turn the gas back on, but they refused to help us. Somehow we were able to survive all this, but we knew it would be the end when we fell asleep. Remember us, remember our torment.
This is the first mugshot that was released in South Korea. Since South Korea just passed a law in 2024 that serious criminal offenders' recent mugshots can be released for 30 days. In the past, without the criminal's consent, police could not release mugshots. And in rare times for serious criminal offenders, they were able to reveal the photos, but only of old photos, not the recent mugshots. So people were complaining that, well, this guy's photo that was released looks very different from recent of what he looks like. As the new law went into effect, Kim Le, 26 years old, he's arrested for unaliving his girlfriend and putting his girlfriend's mother in critical condition. According to his ex-girlfriends, they claim that he had an obsessive personality. He would tell them what to wear and what not to wear, go through their phones, not contact her coworkers and friends if he had an inkling that they were with another male. When his recent girlfriend that he was living with decided to break up with him because of his obsessive personality, she left the apartment and decided to come back to talk to him nicely, I guess, with her mother as a protection. Within 3 minutes, he would attack his girlfriend and the mother. Here's him after the attack in the CCTV footage. According to the security guard, he ran in claiming that somebody was after him and he was all bloody. He filed a petition to not get his recent mugshot revealed, but it did fail. The court said, yes, everybody should know your face, but it's only up for 30 days. Of course, the online does its thing. We know his name, what he does now. I'm not sure what the point of is for just 30 days. Why not for a year or forever? This is a great news and good law, but I do think that this should apply to even like scammers and frauders, not just serious criminal offenders when it comes to maybe murders. I dive more and deeper into criminal cases on my YouTube, link in my bio.
This story is going viral right now for obvious reasons. So back in March of 2022, 4 men were arrested for gang raping, murdering, and then eating a monitor lizard. They apparently took turns doing those things to the animal before cooking it up and eating it in one of India's most protected forest preserves, where that monitor lizard was the only one in the park. This took place on March 29th at the Sayadri Tiger Reserve, and the men were arrested after one of the forest camera traps, which is meant for tracking tigers, caught the men trespassing the reserve's national park. They were arrested sometime between April 1st and April 5th, and after checking their phones, authorities found photos and videos of what they did to that poor animal. I mean, all 4 of them collectively agreed to do that inside of the animal. Then they all decided to eat it, and they were proud of it by taking photos and videos of what they did. These are the names of the men that did that. They were all locals, and they were charged under India's Wildlife Protection Act because monitor lizards are protected and endangered in India.
Something weird has just been discovered about the missing flight MH370. It happened a while ago. Many of you know it here, but this has just been found. Now, I'm no expert, but this is supposed to be some sort of satellite imagery of the plane. You can see it flying right here. This is the flight MH370. Now, you're going to see some crazy stuff start to happen. There's this object number 1 that starts circling the plane. All of a sudden, there is a second object and then a third object. You see them swirling in this like organized fashion around the plane. You can see the satellite image changing positions. And I'm literally at a loss for words. Like, what the heck? These things are circling the plane like they're trying to do something. And then all of a sudden, the plane is going to go poof and disappear. Look at it's just gone. What the heck is happening? Is this legit? Like, what the freak is happening?
I'm low-key sitting here like, yo, I wonder what those people on that plane experienced. Like, imagine being on that plane and next thing you know, you're just like, yo, why are like 3 orbs circling us right now? Then next thing you know, you're just like what? Is it just black? Or is it just like you're in a different, like, what do you experience?
Darkest Conspiracy Theories, Part 2. The Bohemian Grove Club. The Bohemian Grove Club is a place located in the woods of California. It is a club filled with the world's most powerful people and the world's wealthiest. It has around 2,600 members. I'm talking politicians, actors, artists, presidents, writers, mostly anyone with a big name that possesses a lot of power. And there's still a huge waiting list of powerful people waiting to join. Each year they meet up to discuss what's gonna happen next in the world. JP Morgan was a part of this club, Clint Eastwood, and even Ronald Reagan. It's more like a cult than a club. People like Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer even discussed the Manhattan Project there, which led to the world's first atomic bomb, taking the lives of millions of people. When it goes down, they worship an ancient owl god statue, in which they give fake sacrifices to. Yeah, they make a human shape out of sticks and twigs and put it in the fire.
Hail, fellowship's eternal flame! Once again, midsummer sets us free!
My only question is, what other huge world events are being discussed and planned as we speak?
There's a trend going around right now where women are asking their male partners if they would rather the woman be stuck in the woods with a random man or a bear. Would you rather me be stuck in the woods with a bear or a random man?
Man.
Most men are questioning why women are answering bear, and why women would prefer to be stuck in the woods with a bear than a random man. But while there are many, many reasons, here are just a few why I would personally choose bear. Shanann Watts and her children were murdered by her husband, Chris Watts. Lacey Peterson and her unborn child were murdered by her husband, Scott Peterson. Gabby Petito was murdered by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. Hannah Clark and her children were murdered by her estranged husband, Rowan Baxter. Anna Walsh was murdered by her husband, Brian Walsh. Jennifer Farber-Dulos was murdered by her ex-husband, Fotis Dulos. Grace Mullane was murdered by her Tinder date, Shane Kempson. And Suzanne Morphew was allegedly murdered by her husband, Barry Morphew. Meanwhile, there have been only 180 fatal bear attacks in North America in the last 240 years. But that's just a few reasons why I would pick bear. It's not all men, but there are many.
Bear or man, wow. Honestly, whatever she picks, that's her preference, but it also depends on the type of bear. If I'm being honest, if you're stuck in the woods with a polar bear, or I forgot the other type of bear, a grizzly bear, I think it is. I think the black bears are the common one. If you're stuck in the woods with like a polar, you're not gonna find a polar bear in the woods. But if you're stuck with a polar bear or like a grizzly bear, the really aggressive ones, it's guaranteed death. You know what I'm saying? If me and you, let's say you're a female, if me and you are in the woods, I'm not doing jack shit. If anything, I'm gonna help you help me. You know, like, we're not gonna be out here doing no, I'm just gonna no. Like, of course there's gonna be like 10 in 1,000 men that are gonna be on some weird shit. But I'd say some of us aren't that weird. But with a bear, you're kind of asking to get killed. What do you think about that? Put your thoughts in the comments, because that one's very controversial right now.
There's an interesting development in the Baby Reindeer show. Online super sleuths have been trying to determine the identity of Martha, the woman portrayed in the show as Richard Gadd's stalker. Now, Richard is imploring people to stop trying to use their sleuthing skills to uncover Martha's true identity, because that was not his intent or the point of the show. He also says that they went to great lengths to try and make it difficult to uncover Martha's real identity. However, in many true crime groups I'm in, people think otherwise and believe they have found Martha. This has led to a discussion about online sleuths, as well as, keeping people anonymous when they are featured in a show like this. There are also others who have gotten caught up in this saga, including people who think they've identified Gadd's abuser. But he really is imploring people to stop trying to uncover this and just focus on the message of the show and divert that energy into raising awareness about sexual assault and mental health issues. Let me know your thoughts on this development regarding Baby Reindeer.
The character of Dexter Morgan was inspired by this guy who had a huge account on this app up until last year and was a massive YouTuber as well. This is Pedro Rodriguez Filho, and if you don't know his story, it is absolutely preposterous. Outside of having one of the most insane tiger tattoos you will ever see, this is one of the most dangerous men in the history of South America. Pedro was born in 1954 in Brazil, and at age 14 he killed the mayor of his town for firing his father for accusing him of stealing food. He also took out the man he thought was responsible for committing the theft, so like Dexter, he got started at a very early age. Now, he went on the run into Sao Paulo. He began robbing drug dealers and killing drug traffickers, getting this massive reputation as a vigilante. The news media, as they do, ate this up, giving him the nickname Pedrino Matador. Enough, he fell in love with a woman named Maria Olympia, and he got her pregnant, but she ended up losing her life to a rival gang leader. He made it his mission to hunt down and eliminate every single member of that rival gang. He was arrested in 1973 and sentenced to 126 years in prison. He was arrested at age 19 and stayed in prison until 2007. By the time he got out after 34 years in prison, he had taken 71 lives. In 2011, he was arrested again for crimes he had committed as a prisoner because he was an absolute nut while he was locked up. Released in 2018 and made an insane transition into a YouTube sensation. Starting in 2018 under the username Pedrino X Matador, he started this account on YouTube, he started an account on here, and grew a massive following. He would comment on modern crimes and gang violence and tell people not to prop up or support criminals in any way. He spent 5 years doing this good work, trying to make up for this life he had lived, until he was gunned down last year. He was killed in a drive-by and there was never an arrest. His release was supposed to be in 2003. This got a whole lot of press, and he ended up being the main inspiration for the 2004 novel from Jeff Lindsay, Darkly Dreaming Dexter. The rest is history. This man was an absolute monster. He lived an insane life and ended up inspiring one of the best TV characters of all time.
Top 5 of the scariest videos I found online. I bet you can't make it to the end of the video. The last one is scary. Number 5. 3 friends were playing guitar and singing in their room. You know, just having a good time. When something scary appears in the balcony door window. You could see a white figure appear quickly and disappear once the camera pans back.
Quédale más, la que ponga.
Woo, spicy. Hey, maybe you just like the music. Wanted to do a little dance. Get a little boogie. Get it? Boogie, boo. Please don't unfollow me. Before we get to the next one, can you hit that like button for me? If you get 100,000 hearts, I'll do a part 3. Number 4. A man wakes up to hearing strange noises in his house. When he goes to turn on the lights to see what it is, they seem to not be working. Watch what he sees next. Tired of these ghosts messing with electricity when they do not pay bills. Do you know how much an electric bill is right now? Pay up or get out. Okay, check this out. You're alone in the middle of the night and you're in a hotel when this happens. What's your next move? Let me know down below. Number 3. On the 30th of April, 2022 at 2 a.m., a security camera captured this. Some believe it's a creature dragging a bag, while others believe it's someone walking backwards. A short while after, the security camera catches this. It's the same figure. What do you think this creature is? Number 2. The little girl is in the kitchen alone, and it looks like she's talking to someone. The home security camera captures this. So now they're not paying bills and trying to take our food? This is the last straw. Hello, Ghostbusters. A woman and her child is seeing something in the window, but every time she goes to open it, nothing appears to be there. Watch what happens next. Yeah, it got in the house, and they didn't even realize. Should I do a part 3?
Man disappeared one evening without a trace, and 15 years later, he reappeared on his wife's doorstep. Jim McDonnell and his wife Ann were living a quiet life in a suburb of New York in 1971. When Jim began to suffer through a curious set of accidents. It started when he slipped on some ice-coated steps one evening, then it progressed into sneezing fits and dizzy spells. On March 29th, Jim left a friend's house saying he had a headache and was going to take the 15-minute walk home. But he never made it back, and at 2 a.m., Jim's wife Ann reported him missing. Detectives searched everywhere, but it was like Jim vanished without a trace. They had no leads, and detectives feared that something awful must have happened on that walk home. For 15 years, Ann McDonnell lived in limbo, not knowing where her husband was or if he was all right. But she never gave up hope that maybe one day she would receive an answer. And she did. One fateful Christmas, there was a knock at Ann's front door. She opened it up to a stunning sight. Her husband, Jim McDonnell, was standing on her doorstep. 15 years after his mysterious disappearance, Jim was home. But how? Where had Jim been the past 15 years? Jim had suffered amnesia from the numerous accidents leading up to his disappearance and had been living in another city, Philadelphia, for the past 15 years. At some point during that walk home the evening he disappeared, he lost all memory of who he was or where he lived. What happened next remains a mystery. Jim either took the train or a bus, but ended up in Philadelphia and adopted a new name he saw on a billboard advertisement, James Peters. There he stayed for 15 years, starting a new life for himself with none of his memories. Days before his return, he had fallen again randomly in Philadelphia, and somehow this fall triggered him to regain his memory of his prior life. And as soon as he remembered, he ran straight back to Anne, wondering if she was still alive or if she had remarried. Jim and Anne had no problem picking up where they left off and lived the rest of their lives happily together. And Anne's intuition was right. Never, ever give up hope. One of the most remarkable true stories I've ever heard. What are your thoughts?
I'm not gonna lie, my thoughts is, what if Jim was just like outside, you know what I'm saying? Jim was outside with another girl. He was like, you know, I'm gonna leave this shorty and go to the next shorty. Then it didn't work out, so he came back. He was like, you know, I kind of just slipped and fell, and like I kind of just forgot who I was. But like as soon as I remembered, I came back. Yo, imagine. I'm just playing, but like that'd be funny as hell if that was the truth.
Creepy story time. The person who submitted this has been tagged down below. When Deanne was about 10 years old, her mom used to work as an LPN in a labor and delivery unit. Every night at the end of her mom's shift, Deanne, her dad, and brothers would go pick her mom up. Like usual, Deanne was usually the one that would go in to get her mom while the rest of her family stayed in the car. As Deanne is walking towards the nurse's station, she sees her mom and lets her know that she's there. Her mom grabs her purse and starts to walk towards the lockers. She then asks Deanne if she needed to use the bathroom. Deanne said that she didn't, so her mom went ahead into the bathroom by herself. Now, mind you, the bathroom that her mom went into was a one-person type of bathroom. Deanne saw when she walked in, shut the door. Deanne then proceeded to wait right outside and sit on a bench that was right across the bathroom. Not long after, she sees when the door swings open. Deanne looks in and sees absolutely nothing. Then out of nowhere, she sees this woman just walking out. But this woman is not her mom. She has no idea who this woman is. She was dressed like a typical older woman in her 60s. Her hair was white and gray. She was wearing thin, round glasses. She had on some slacks and like a white top. I mean, Deanne remembers specifically what this woman looked like. As the woman walks out, she shuts the light off in the bathroom and looks down towards the ground. The whole time this was going on, Deanne felt a knot at the pit of her stomach. Something about this was so unsettling to her. The woman had muted, like grayish blue skin, and there was absolutely no expression in her face. The woman just continued off into the hallway. At this point, Deanne is having a panic attack. She's freaking out, wondering where her mom is and who is this woman that just randomly came out of this bathroom. That's when she's about to really lose it. The door swings open again. The light goes off and she sees her mom walk out of the bathroom. A wave of relief literally rushed all over Deanne, and she ran to her mom and gave her the biggest hug. She then asked her who was the woman that was in there with her. Her mom is confused and says, "What woman? I was in there by myself."
Amount of DMs that I got about this. So there's a medium on TikTok who apparently knew back in February that the submersible was going to implode. She kind of saw the disaster coming. This is her account. Her name is Gemma Lonsdale, and although the information was murky, she couldn't give a name or anything like that, anything that would have been preventative. She predicted an impending disaster that was to come, possibly in the coming months, that talked about a passenger ship, or something comparable to the submersible that we know. And what she said is that the passengers on board would face disaster and most likely die as the result of unchecked infrastructure.
Earth's Scariest Places, Part 56. This place is Ballygally Castle, located in Northern Ireland. It's known for its rich history and, of course, its hauntings. Sometime in the 17th century, Lord James Shaw and Lady Isabella occupied the castle. Of course, Lord Shaw wanted a male heir to pass down the kingdom to. After a string of miscarriages and female babies, Lord Shaw was getting increasingly frustrated. He gave Lady Isabella one more chance, and of course, she produced a female baby. Incredibly angry, he decided to lock her in the tower room out of frustration. Eventually, she went crazy. She wasn't allowed to leave the room. The tower was right next to the ocean, and of course, a bunch of rocks below. It got to the point where Lady Isabella couldn't take it anymore. She ended up jumping to her own death. It's said that her spirit still haunts the tower. She's actually a very nice and mischievous ghost, known for knocking on doors and moving things around the room. People have also reported seeing her in a flowing green gown, feeling cold spots, and feeling like they're being watched when they're in the room. And that's why this is one of
14 years before the Titanic sank, a small-town writer predicted the whole thing in a novel. Hauntingly, in 1898, Morgan Robertson wrote The Wreck of the Titan, or Futility. In his book, he wrote of the SS Titan, a massive, unsinkable ship. He wrote, "The Titan struck an iceberg on its journey and sank, becoming one of the world's greatest tragedies." And 14 years later, the Titanic struck an iceberg, sinking and becoming one of the world's greatest tragedies. Morgan's fictional story is almost an exact retelling of the events of the Titanic. Some of the chilling similarities are both ships' names and both being described as unsinkable. Both the fictional Titan and the Titanic ran into trouble after hitting icebergs on the starboard side of the ship. They were both 400 miles off Newfoundland when they sank, both on April nights. In both cases, the passengers suffered tragically due to a shortage of lifeboats. Oh, and both ships were British-owned. There are a few smaller differences, but for the most part, they are the exact same story. After the tragedy of the Titanic, Robertson was accused of being clairvoyant, and it only fueled a lot of conspiracy theories about the sinking of the Titanic. This story blows my mind. I have no idea how anyone could chalk this up to being a coincidence. No way. What are your thoughts?
Bro, it was The Simpsons before The Simpsons even came out. That is exactly like The Simpsons. The Simpsons predicted so many things. They almost predicted Trump's assassination. They pretty much did, except he got saved. Like, I don't know what saved Donald Trump, but like that little, that he did saved his life. Some people believe it's fake, but I don't think it's fake. Like, I don't think I would really fake getting shot.
So I'm sleeping and I can see myself in front of the door. I was not in my body. I was astral projecting and I could see myself just like floating. Everything around me is wavy and fuzzy, and all I could do is just stare at the door. So I then decided to go through the door, and the moment I went through the door, I saw people in the living room, and I was living alone. Like, I was like, who are these people? As soon as I go through the door, I'm in the living room now, and there's these people in the living room just like staring at me, and I'm like really weirded out. One of them looked like my uncle, the others were just a mystery. I didn't know who they were. This is the part that I vividly remember. They were like, hey, he can see us now. This was my first time, and I was a bit scared. I could like feel my heart racing. Es neta, me dio mucho miedo. And then there was like this fast movement of like going back through the door and going back to my body. To this day, I don't know who they were, the people there in the living room. I don't know if they were like my spirit guides or spirits, but I did not recognize them. They were just there in the living room, and as soon as I went through the door, they turned around, they turned their heads and like looked at me.
I don't know if any of you are listening to the podcast Scamanda, but it is wild. It's a story of a woman from California, Amanda Riley, who for 7 years pretended she had cancer and scammed people out of over $100,000 of donations. In 2012, Amanda started a blog after getting diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, trying to document her journey. And in it, she talks about how sick she's getting, about how bad she feels, how chemo's going, how she got pregnant while on chemo, which was a miracle. She even posted photos of herself with a shaved head. And no one suspects a thing. She even has documents from the hospital about her treatment, and she was posting photos from inside the hospital. Come to find out, none of it was real. The whole thing was a lie. In reality, she had set up all these GoFundMes and even started a foundation just so she could pocket all the money, which over the course of 7 years was $105,000, which in California, you can make more money just getting a normal person job. The podcast does a good job of getting into all of this, and it even gets into the weeds on how she stole custody from her new husband's ex-wife over their daughter, and the whole thing is a wild ride.
That situation reminds me of the situation that happened with Gypsy, with how everyone's like, oh my god, Gypsy, the blah blah blah, but her mom was just trying to scam people. It's crazy. I don't get why people would do something like that. Like, it's exactly like she says, like $105,000. You can work a good job and get that much money. It's not like she made like $1 million off of it. It just seems like, just even to me, that's like really that much work just for donations, just to really fool people. That's sick, bro. That's sick. That's what stops the people that actually need donations to actually get people to donate, because they're gonna be like, well, what if this person that's actually dying of stage 5 cancer is playing with me like the other 300 people that did this? Sick.
Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean? Right. That I was at the wedding and I caught the bouquet. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. First thing to catch from her that didn't need a shot of penicillin.
Do you really know about the secrets of Joan Rivers' life, beyond her controversial jokes and countless face changes? 10 years after she passed away, her daughter is now sharing shocking stories about Joan that were kept quiet before. She's also revealed how many times her mom actually had surgery to change her look. In this video, we're going to share all the secrets about Joan Rivers that her daughter just revealed. Some stories will surprise you. Let's dive in.
It was such a dog. To get me down the aisle, they threw a bone. You know what I'm saying?
Joan's early life and career. Joan Rivers was born Joan Alexandra Malinsky in Brooklyn, New York on June 8, 1933. She was the youngest of 2 daughters raised by Russian immigrant parents. Her father was a medical doctor who instilled in her a love of humor that would later become her trademark and profession. Joan Rivers wasn't just a funny lady, but a sharp mind. Having graduated with high honors from Barnard College, she dove headfirst into the blooming world of New York comedy in the 1960s. But I bet you don't know that before the limelight, her talent was evident, and she made notable appearances on shows like Candid Camera. But it was in 1965 that her career truly skyrocketed. She earned a guest spot on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. It became her actual breakout moment, leading to her show, The Joan Rivers Show, in the 1970s. Her razor-sharp wit and self-deprecating humor earned her a vast audience base, and she became a prominent figure on television, appearing on programs like The Carol Burnett Show and Hollywood Squares. But Joan wasn't one to be confined to just performing. She was a multi-talented woman, venturing into writing and directing. In 1973, she co-wrote a TV movie and even directed her film, Rabbit Test, in 1978. By the 1980s, Joan Rivers had become a mainstay on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, gaining prominence through her quick wit and unapologetic humor. Triumphs, losses, and comebacks. Juan's versatility will shock you. Juan's success went beyond the screen as she extended her talent to print. She wrote a bestseller titled The Life and Hard Times of Heidi Abramowitz. It is a hilarious faux autobiography based on one of her signature characters. This literary success was just the beginning, as Rivers went on to pen several more books. However, the 1980s also saw a controversial chapter in her career. In 1986, she launched her late-night talk show on Fox, directly competing with The Tonight Show. This move led to a public falling out with Carson, who saw it as a betrayal of their friendship.
Yeah, there's actually been a lot of things about Joan Rivers, like her with Michelle Obama, her saying that Michelle's actually a dude. Just a lot of things surrounding her. Hopefully she didn't get clapped from the elites because of what she knew. But who knows, honestly. But anyways, if you guys like the video, please like the video. Try to get this to 500 likes. Thank you all for watching. Check out the next video. If you like the chain members, check the link down in the description. Peace out.